Hello, my name is Connor Quinlan. In this review, I'm going to be doing a comparison between the Nikon d5100, which I have right here, and the Nikon d7000. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I did thoroughly review the d7000 in the past, and I used it in my vids in order to make the reviews. Now, I don't have it in this video, but I do have a lot of experience with that camera. So, basically what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over what the d7000 has over the d5100, and then I'll talk about the advantages of the d5100 has over the d7000. First of all, just to give a little overview of exactly what the d5100 is. It has the amazing image quality and sensor of the d7000, and then the speed and build quality of the d3100. With that said, let's start with the differences that the d7000 has over the d5100. First of all, the d7000 can have wireless flash capabilities, which is pretty important, especially for more serious portrait photographers and whatnot, studio photographers. And then the d7000 also has a partial magnesium alloy body, which makes it more durable, but most importantly, it has weather sealing, which is great for landscape photographers who deal with rain and dust and stuff. And of course, if you take pictures in those types of situations often, a better built body is definitely worth however much it costs in order to get that. The d7000 also has a much better AF system, not necessarily faster, but definitely more accurate with more cross points or cross type points and whatnot. It has a 39-point AF system overall though. It also has a faster frame rate, 6 frames per second compared to the 4 frames per second of the d5100. And then of course the d7000 also has a built-in autofocus motor, so you can use non-AFS lenses on it, and that can be useful. Nowadays, especially if you don't have any lenses or are just starting out, that's not really a problem because so many companies now, even third-party companies, make lenses that are compatible with cameras like the d5100. A few other differences, and a major one in my opinion, is that the d7000 has a much larger and brighter viewfinder, 100% coverage compared to the 95% coverage of the d5100. It might not seem like much of a difference, but I tell you, when you're trying to frame and you want something just out of the image, it's hard to determine when it's out of the image if you only have a 95% area when you're looking through the viewfinder here. Also, the d7000 can take 2 cards, whereas the d5100, as you can see here, can only take 1 SD card. And then finally, the max shutter speed on the d7000 is 1/8,000th of a second, whereas with the d5100 is 1/4,000th of a second. So, now with that said, the d5100 does have some advantages over the d7000 as well, considering that it is newer. First of all, it does of course have the tilt swivel screen, as you can see here, and it is side articulated instead of bottom articulated now, which is much easier and nicer to use, especially on a tripod, than the older bottom articulated screen. Another really cool thing is that the screen is also is very high resolution, same resolution as the d7000, so there's no longer that choice between a tilt swivel screen and a high resolution LCD screen. Another difference is that the d5100 has this mode called effects mode right on the top there, and that basically what that does is if you're taking pictures or video, it adds a special effects filter to it. Nothing very special, but interesting nonetheless and new. And then finally, the last thing you can do is you can actually do in-camera HDR, which is done in the shooting menu, as you can see here. And then you can set what it'll do is it'll take 2 pictures ranging in different exposure from 1 EV to 3 EV, and then it'll combine those to create an HDR image. You can't do more than 2 shots, sadly. That's one improvement that they can make, but it's still very effective and it does a very good job, in my opinion, for a in-camera HDR. Finally, the only other difference is that this is smaller, lighter, and less expensive than the d7000. So, now what I'm going to talk about is my recommendations. Which one should you get? The answer is really simple. If you're a beginning photographer just starting, then I would definitely recommend getting the d5100. It's a better deal as an overall camera. It can take pictures of everything, even sports, if you're just shooting those every now and then. However, if you find that you shoot sports a lot over half the time you're shooting, then you definitely might want to consider the D7000, which is considerably faster in multiple ways. Autofocus, burst speed, starting speed, shutter lag, pretty much everything. And then of course, it does have some other features that I mentioned before that if those pertain to you specifically, you should definitely consider the D7000 over the D5100. So essentially, even though they seem very close together, they're actually very different cameras meant for two different types of photographers. So this has been a comparison of the Nikon D5100 and the Nikon D7000 digital SLR.